Book 2, AI Failure Patterns in Decision Making. This book is not AI mistakes. It's not a collection of errors, bugs, or technical failures, and it's not a catalog of things that went obviously wrong. This book is about decisions that made sense at the time they were made, decisions that looked reasonable, that followed the process, and that no one objected to. And yet, over time, those decisions led to outcomes that felt confusing, disappointing, or hard to explain. It's not because anyone acted recklessly or people didn't care, but because the failure didn't announce itself as a failure. Most of the ways we detect failure at work rely on disruption. We notice failure when something breaks, when an error appears, when results contradict expectations. We are trained to look for mistakes, breakdowns, inconsistencies, things that clearly do not work. But AI assisted failures rarely show up this way. They often arrive as agreement. Everyone nods, everyone recognizes the language, everyone sees something that looks familiar or aligned. Meetings go smoothly, approvals move forward, documents look clean and professional, nothing feels wrong. That is exactly the danger. Because when failure arrives as alignment, there is no natural pause point. No one asks harder questions because no one feels disagreement. The system keeps moving calmly, efficiently, and confidently. AI is extremely good at producing outputs that feel plausible. The language sounds right, the structure matches expectations, the tone feels professional and competent. And humans are very good at trusting things that look competent. In traditional work, competence usually had to be demonstrated through effort, explanation, or visible reasoning. With AI, competence often arrives pre-assembled. This doesn't mean the content is always wrong. In many cases, it's partially correct. That partial correctness is what makes it dangerous. This book names a set of failure patterns that only become visible once AI is part of everyday work. Patterns such as competence marriages, where outputs look convincing enough to bypass deeper evaluation, responsibility diffusion, where many people touch a decision but no one really truly made it, plausible wrongness, where outputs are not obviously incorrect but subtly incomplete, misframed, or misleading, and confidence laundering, where uncertainty gets cleaned up by fluent language and hesitation disappears without discussion. None of these patterns require bad actors. They don't rely on negligence or on a lack of expertise. They emerge from normalization. They feel safe, professional, they feel aligned with how work is supposed to look. And because each instance feels small, they are easy to dismiss until they accumulate. One of the hardest things about these patterns is that they don't contradict experience. People look back and say, nothing looked wrong at the time. Everybody reviewed it. The process was followed. And they're usually right. That's what makes these failures so difficult to correct. They don't violate the rules, they don't slide between them, they don't feel abdication of responsibility. They feel like collaboration. They don't feel reckless, they feel efficient. This is why traditional risk language often fails to capture them. Many organizations assume that strong process will protect them. More approvals, review steps, documentation. But process does not guarantee judgment. Approvals don't guarantee ownership. Committees don't guarantee deliberation. And documentation doesn't guarantee responsibility. In AI assisted work, process can even accelerate diffusion. Each person assumes someone else looked more closely. Each reviewer assumes the important thinking happened earlier. When everyone touches a decision, no one feels it truly belongs to them. This book explains why that happens and why it's becoming more common, not less. This book does not offer fixes. There are no safeguards, no checklists, no best practices. And that absence is intentional. Because solutions applied too early often reinforce the very dynamics they are meant to correct. Before anything can be fixed, the failure needs to be seen clearly. This book sharpens perception, it slows interpretation before it rushes toward correction. If you review work that involves AI, if you approve decisions prepared with AI, or if you are accountable after the fact for outcomes you didn't fully reshape, this book was written for you. Not to assign blame, but to make responsibility visible again. Subscribe to the channel if you lead with responsibility, and if your team needs help restoring that clarity, well, that's what we do. See you in the next one.